I spent 6 months in a town called Guihulngan. It's on the Negros Oriental side, on the Cebuano side. It's right across from the island of Cebu, and that was my second area. I spent 6 months there. It was a seaside town, and the area just kind of ran up the coast. It was an interesting place. The rule was established for missionaries in that area that we were not allowed to travel more than a kilometer off the highway. It was not safe. There were a number of different factions that still exist there. There's the NPA, the New People's Army. There's the RPA. There's elements of the MNLF, Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Basically, a number of groups that are militant and do what they can to destabilize the area, each seeking their own, cause. And so to leave the safety of the town was putting our lives in jeopardy. The branch president, or actually I guess he was the bishop of the area, was the chief of police. So we had a really good contact regarding that. It was a safe town, all things considered, for the most part. The one thing I made sure to do in each of my areas was to make friends with the police, the thugs, and the dogs. Figured if I made friends with all of those, I was in good shape. And we never really had any trouble with any of them. They all pretty much watched out for us. Even those that would normally be considered troublemakers would watch out for us. They figured, we were doing God's work, and you just don't mess with the people doing God's work. So it was fairly safe. We were never really accosted, although I did have to run for my life a few times. Usually somebody drunk or high with a machete or a length of pipe, something like that. So we did have to run a few times, but we were never robbed or anything like that. It was a fairly safe place. They respected us as missionaries, as even though we were of different faiths. They felt that if you were preaching the word, then you deserved to be left alone, which was really nice. Housing was generally either cinder block and cement, or it was kind of the nipa hut, bamboo hut with a nipa roof. The richer people had the nicer homes, the cement. Tile was fairly common. Marble wasn't that hard to come by for those with money. The nicer homes were gated and had walls around them, oftentimes with broken shards of glass along the top to discourage people from climbing over the wall. The poorer people lived in the bamboo huts, and they were actually my favorite. They were a lot cooler. They didn't have nearly as many problems with the heat and stuff like that. So that was kind of the living conditions, and it was based off of economic status. As far as work, those that did well had businesses of their own, retail businesses, stores, things like that. Those who were poor worked at those businesses, or were fishermen, or they provided public transportation. Sometimes it was a motorcycle with a sidecar. Other times it was a bicycle with a sidecar, and the jeepneys and the taxis and things like that. And most people would earn a day's wage, and that was what they lived off of. If they didn't earn money that day, they didn't eat. Just very much hand to mouth. And so it was rough living for most of them. A lot of fishing in that area because it was on the coast. But the layout of the town, it was in grid. It was a grid. It was blocks, and the streets were decent. They were paved, and even though it was a poor area, it was pretty well taken care of. So they have their central areas, their plaza, where there's a lot of business. People go and sell their wares. There's a basketball court on every corner. Pretty much, basketball's their pastime. They love to play basketball, so we'd play pickup games fairly often and just shoot some hoops. It was a great way to meet people. That town was fairly small, but it was one of the more interesting ones as far as the people and stuff. The Cebuano people are definitely different than the Ilonggo people. They're more direct, they're more aggressive, they are more inclined to chase you and threaten your life, but on the whole, they're really good people. They're a good bunch, but they're different than the Ilonggos. The Ilonggos are very kind, very gentle, very reserved. The Cebuano people will tell you how they think about things, and there's just, they're very direct. So it was fun.